Hi everybody, welcome to Missy's Imaginings. Right before we jump into our project, I was just going to show you, I received in the mail, I ordered it, but it got here really fast, some wonderful curly green fur that I'm really excited to try for some wigs. So I don't know if you can see the, the swirls in that, but I just thought, oh, that is really fun. So I got some of this. It'll be a short curly wig, and I'm excited to try that out. So we'll have to keep tabs on that and see how that goes. But the project today is going to be the Glamour coat that I posted last time. I drew it out, did the sketch, made the pattern, and then got the pattern ready for the website. So I thought, okay, now I want to put it together. My pieces are the rough version that you saw me sketch out on just the brown newsprint. So these don't look nearly as pretty as the ones on the website, but they'll work. And what I had to make this coat is I had some pieces of this lovely, it's like a powder yellow, ivory yellow faux leather. So it's not a bright canary yellow by any stretch of the imagination, but it's not a beige. It's a weird color. But in my brain, when I saw this color, I thought, ooh, that would make a cool coat. And the image of the coat was just in my head. So I thought, all right, so I have the fabric, so we'll get the pieces cut out, kind of talk about the pieces, and then we'll go ahead and get started putting it together to see if it'll work. I don't know. I had the idea, so I made a pattern and I haven't sewn it yet. So you'll be seeing it when I see it. So I thought, let's go over the pieces. The first one we'll look at, of course, is the front of the coat. So it almost has an arrowhead shape to the design. So it's wider and it gets narrow at the bottom. And then it'll have the gown that is going to go underneath. I'm probably simply going to use the gown, the underdress that went to the SD size kimono set. And I have a video making that set and putting that gown together. If you want to go and watch that and you want the same undergown, that's already on the website. I don't know that I'll pleat it, but I might. I haven't decided yet, but it fits the SD size. So that's the gown that would go underneath this coat to flare at the bottom. So the front would be two pieces, obviously, both sides. They're shaped kind of like an arrowhead, which is just kind of an interesting shape. There is a facing that will be sewn inside, and the facings just help hide all the rough edges of any collar that you might put in. And so our collar is going to consist of the ruffled piece, and I'll maybe go ahead and put a picture of the coat design up here so you can kind of look at it while we're talking. But the collar will only go around the back of the neck and then down the front. So these pieces are going to sew together, and then they're going to be either pleated or gathered. Let's see if we'll just wrinkle our paper up here. That just gives reality to what we're doing, right? There we go. So if you wrinkle all that up, and then this is all wrinkled and pleated, because right now I'm not taking the time to actually pleat it, but this is going to be attached to the front of the coat so that the ruff will come around the back of the neck and then down the front on this side of the coat, but only one side, not both sides. So that's what these pieces are. Both of these pieces, as well as the facing and then the back facing, I'm going to use this shimmery gold color on its metallic gold thread woven into a white background. And I used this on the Christmas Splendor dress for Evangeline when we made it. This is what the skirt was. So I still have some of this fabric, and I'm going to use that as the inside of the lining of the ruffs and the facing. So that's the front of the coat. Then we move to the back of the coat. So here's the back, and one side will be cut because it is also going to have a rough sewn. Let's see if we can get this guy to fan a little bit. There we go. So it will also have a rough sewn to the bottom where it splits apart. The other side comes all the way down, but then that can fold back to give a nice amount of a facing, so that if it flips up, you don't just see a hemline on this edge. It'll go up kind of far in there, so that if it turns up, it's got some fabric there to finish it out. So the back is going to be sewn down the center back to about here, where we'll put in that ruff on this side of the coat. Again, only one side. So that's the back. So let's move that out of the way. So there's our front and our back. Oh, I guess I'm stacking them here. Then it'll come to the sleeve. The sleeves will have a band across, and of course it won't be this wide because there's seam allowance here. It'll have a band here, and then the sleeve will also have a ruff. So this piece is the ruff for the sleeve. So that will be sewn on. Let's see if we can fold our paper. There we go. We're doing all kinds of paper crafts today. Oh, whoa. There we go. And then that'll come across. There we go. And then we'll have probably a jeweled button is what I'm thinking. So anyway, that's the sleeve. Then there's a turban. So the turban piece looks like this. And let's see here. And it will come around the doll's head like so. This edge up here will all be gathered. There we go. To go around the doll's head. Paper doesn't work very well. But then this will also use the same ruff that goes on the sleeve. So this will also be the ruff used to make the turban ruff. And then there's a facing for the turban hat. And then of course a back facing. So that's all the pieces that you'll need. So I have the pieces cut out of the faux leather. They're all cut out and ready to go. So I just need to cut out the facing pieces and the back sides of all these ruffs, because I don't want to hem one edge and then have it just be a rough edge, rough on the rough. I don't want to have a raw backside of the faux leather and a hem showing. So I'm going to line the back of these with this real pretty gold. Now what I'll probably do, this stuff frays really awful. It comes apart at the drop of a hat. So I'm probably going to iron on some interfacing that will help give it a little bit more form, because it's a little floppy. And so it'll give it a little bit more form. Plus, if it's the iron-on interfacing, it'll help keep those edges from fraying so much, because it'll kind of keep them intact a little bit better. So that is my plan, what we're going to do. So we'll go ahead and put everybody out of the way, set up the sewing machine, get our facing pieces cut out, and we'll start putting this together. I have all my pieces cut out, and I have all of the lining pieces or facing pieces cut out, and I did put interfacing, iron-on interfacing on the back, which will help my edges stay in place a little bit better. So my first step is going to be to apply the facing pieces to all of the vinyl pieces. So with right sides together, I'm going to put those together and sew around the edges, but I'm going to leave the edge that's actually going to be gathered, and I'm going to leave that open so I can flip it right side out. So I have the ruffs for the sleeves, there we go, and I have the ruff for the back of the coat. So my right side of vinyl, right side of the facing. I have the little bands that will go on the coat sleeves. I have a ruff that will go on each of the sleeves and one for the turban. Another band for the sleeves. Then the facing, for the inside facing of the coat, I'm just going to serge around this edge just as a little bit of extra protection and finish, because this will not be attached to any other piece of fabric. The collar will have to be lined. Then I have the ruff for the actual coat. Now this, before I actually put this together, I'm going to attach the facing on the collar to the ruff for the collar, and I'll do the same for the vinyl, and then I'll put those together because that will all be one piece when it's attached to the coat. Then I'll do the facing on the turban, but I'm not going to put the facing in the actual coat part yet, but I am going to put the facing for the coat front will be attached to the back facing at the shoulders, and then I will serge the entire outside edge. I guess I should have mentioned that. So these will be attached at the shoulder like so, and then serged all the way around the edge that will be inside the coat and will be loose and not attached in a seam. So I think that's all my prep sewing that I'm going to do. So we'll go ahead and get started on those steps. now that all the pieces are connected, my next step is going to be to baste along this edge that's not sewn together. This is the edge that's going to be gathered to create the ruffle effect, so those pieces can be ruffled up on the edge and then placed according to where they need to be in the garment. So that's going to be what I do with all these pieces that have been sewn together already. Then on the coat, let's get some coat pieces here. On the back piece, I'm going to go ahead and ruffle this piece that will go on the back. So I'm going to baste along here and this edge in here, and then this will be gathered and ruffled. Let's see if we can kind of make it, see if it'll want to ruffle a little bit here. And this is going to be so that it will stand out. It's not going to be connected on the seam, but it'll be standing out here. So only this much of it will actually be sewn to the garment. So that will be sewn along the seam allowance, keeping this part free. Then this will be ruffled on a basting edge, like so, and then this other side will be sewn to the opposite corner. So it'll be ruffled in the center, and then those seam allowances are going to be sewn in place like this onto the garment, just like that. And to make it a little bit more smooth, I might actually trim out the little corner here so it will be more of just a curve, so I can not have any seam allowance in one spot and then have this come free from the garment in another spot. So I'll probably do that. So I'm kind of improvising as I go since I've never sewn this. But so this will be ruffled and then sewn to the bottom edge of the back piece that has that cutaway portion at the bottom. Once this and this are sewn together, I will start at the neckline and sew all the way down to where that needs to meet and put the back together. But the back has to be two pieces in order to put this inside. So we'll do that, and once the back is assembled, then we're going to connect the back to the front pieces at the shoulder, just like I normally do when I'm sewing a garment, you know, with the front and a back, which you've probably seen many times before. So the first thing will be to assemble this back, then connect it to the shoulders of the front. And once that is done, we'll go ahead and start working on the neckline collar, which will also be gathered along this edge and ruffled up. And then I have, of course, the in facing that we'll use to attach the collar and the facing to the coat pieces all at one time. I think that's going to be our next step. So hopefully I'll do it in the right order, which will let my construction work since we're still on an experimental pattern here. The color is all in and it looks good. As you could tell, when I was putting it in, I didn't go in super deep because I wanted to get it placed first, and then I checked along this line and I still had some of that basting and gathering stitching showing, so I went in a little bit deeper just to cover up that stitching and stay right close to that seam allowance. So now the collar will go up one side of the front and around the back of the neck to just roughly the other side of where a normal collar would be, and then the other side of the coat will just have a finished front that will be layered underneath. So there's the front of the coat. I'm not going to top stitch yet because I don't have the sides sewn together yet. So now I have the coat body basically put together, and then this facing, of course, will be sewn in and tacked at the shoulders and at the center back on these seam allowances, and that will help hold it up and out of the way so that it will stay in place. And that's what the inside of that coat will look like. So I think it's going to be really pretty when it's coming together here. So, and then the back, of course, has the little ruffle that's ready to go. And then I didn't sew anything on this because that'll be caught up in the side seam. So now that the coat body is kind of put together here, I'm going to work on the sleeves. The sleeves will have a ruff as well, so I'll have to gather this edge, and then they'll also have this little tie band that will be sewn on. And I'm going to have to reference my photos because I'll go ahead and maybe if there's room I can put a picture of the sketch, because I have to figure out how I want to apply the ruff onto the sleeve. So I'll probably turn the camera off and kind of evaluate that and see how I'm gonna put that together, and then I'll turn the camera back on once I've already gathered this and I have it stay stitched and I'm ready to actually apply it on the sleeve, and we'll show how that'll all be placed together, because I have to remember how I want to do that. So it's making progress, and we'll be back with the next steps to finish out what we need to do on the sleeves, and then once the sleeves are done, we'll go ahead and attach them to the body of the coat. I will also be hemming the sleeve just with a turned hem and gathering up here along the top just for some extra ease stitching to make sure it'll fit into the body of my coat. So yeah, we'll get that stuff ready and then be back to the camera. And here is the coat that's finished. Once I got everything finished, and her little hat. So all in all, I'm very pleased. I think it turned out exactly the way I pictured it in my head. She doesn't have a dress on right now, so I just put some little pants on her because I haven't had time to finish the dress. But I'm very happy with how it turned out. So here's her little headpiece. Has kind of a wrap. And there's how I just gathered that one edge and then sewed that around together and put the little ruff in the top. Then her collar goes around the back, but not all the way around. So we'll keep her turning here. There we go. And then the gold can peek in through there. The wrists and the sleeves look like this, and a little heart button just for fun. Little embellishment there. Another little heart button with the sleeve. And then the little ruff on the back hem. And our little arrowhead shaped coat is all the way finished. I think I might go ahead and make a bag to go with this. So I have some pieces cut out. So if that turns out the way I want it, I'll go ahead and post that pattern on the website as well to go with this set. So there she is in her new little coat, and all in all, I'm very pleased. So I hope this was helpful if you've been trying to maneuver this pattern, and you can have fun sewing yours as well. See you next time, and happy sewing. Bye.